Hey everyone, it's Carissa Wu, as you know, and I have a very special guest. I'm here with Alex Collier, a brand and web designer for wedding professionals. She is a certified show it designer partner specializing in creating websites with beauty and brains. She also has a line of gorgeous show it templates for wedding pros in her template shop. And I've been stalking you all morning, and your templates are super gorgeous. So, welcome, Alex.
Hi, thank you so much.
Yeah, so just to start things off, did you just have a baby?
I just had a baby, a little baby girl named Margaret, and she's
Wow.
so wonderful. It was my first baby, so
Oh,
yeah,
congratulations.
thank you.
How is it being a mommy?
It's amazing. I really love it. I was, nervous to step into this new role, but I think I was like mentally prepared for how hard it was going to be. So,
Oh,
I would keep saying like it's as hard and as wonderful as everyone says it is.
oh, nice. What's the hardest part for you?
Well, we had a lot of issues at first with feeding because she had a tongue tie. So that was definitely the
Mm.
struggle at first, was getting her just to eat and gain weight, which you don't really think about beforehand. But
Oh,
thankfully now she's doing well.
did she get the little clip clip?
She did get the little quick clip, yes.
I know all about it.
Did you have to deal with the same thing?
No, but my sister's kid and a lot of my friends'
Oh,
kids, but I know like the first couple months are super hard. So I'm so thankful that you're on this
yeah.
podcast with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a little backstory about how I found you. So, one of my coaching students is Danielle from Indie Pop, and her website is ridiculously gorgeous. Her style is very like poppy and different. But you made her a website, and it's fantastic.
Yeah.
So I just had to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Her website was definitely like the most fun project I've done as far as like the visuals. So I'm glad that we were
Yeah.
able to connect through her.
Yeah, so if you don't mind, like, do you mind me reading her review that she posted on Instagram about you?
Oh, that would be so sweet. Yeah.
Okay, so it's a little bit wordy, so just bear with me. So
Okay.
she says, "Gah, I am freaking out about my new website launch. You guys, like what? It's the most beautiful, colorful dream I could have asked for. I cannot literally believe how Alex Collier design brought it to life. My hope is that you vibe with it, feel happier when you visit inspired and ready to get married. But also, if you aren't getting married or you already are, I still hope it gives you happy, feel good vibes and you poking around all the fun things we implemented. And when I say we, I really mean Alex because she took my crazy vision and million requests and turned them into a website. And I'm so proud and feel grateful to have. So beautiful.
Oh, that's so sweet. She's the
I
best.
know. So what was the biggest challenge about creating her website?
Well, I would say usually I kind of do more like light and airy style websites. It's kind of what a lot of people gear towards. And hers was definitely, she has so much fun personality and she loves working with couples who have that fun personality, want to do like out of the box adventurous things. She does a lot of elopements. And so, she kept being like, more color, which is not typically what I do, but
Yeah.
that made it a really fun challenge. And I think it did turn out, I mean, so amazing and really like going to connect with her clients because I mean, as soon as you land on her homepage, it's like huge rainbow gradient. Like it's definitely going to attract those fun out of the box clients for her, which was the goal.
Yeah, it's actually absolutely stunning. I actually hired a web designer to try to create my style like hers, like super like color blocking and different. And it just looked like Gymboree. And I just had to be like,
Mm.
scratch that. It's not working. So if only I had you at the time, like you could
Oh,
actually make my vision come to life.
yeah, girl.
Yeah, so you really executed. I know it's very challenging to do something like that. So you guys have to check out
Yeah.
Indie Pop. Yeah, so tell the listeners like how you got started, where you're located, and just all about you and who you serve.
Yeah. So I'm located in San Antonio, Texas. I work with clients all over though. So I got started in design a few years ago. I actually was a middle school teacher, was my previous career. And that was not for me. So after doing that for, all the people always say to me, they're like, oh, I could never do that. It's like, yeah, that's neither could I. Um, but so I did it for 6 years. And then I was kind of, I just needed a change, a new career and kind of just kept coming back to design. I enrolled in a online boot camp for UX design. And that was how I was able to make the career transition. And kind of parallel to while all of that was going on, I was also getting married. I was engaged, and my husband and I got married in 2017. And so, just in kind of like doing those things kind of in tandem and working with so many wedding professionals, I just really fell in love with the industry, and all the people we worked with for our wedding were so wonderful. Um, and so that was what kind of got me into that niche, and that was how I discovered Show It, and kind of just got started from there.
Yes. Oh my god, that's so interesting. A lot of people, like, land their new passion careers after their wedding or during the wedding process, so it's
Yeah.
very interesting because 'cause
Well,
you're
I think
probably, like, a hopeless romantic, right?
totally, yes. And I love that I get to just look at wedding pictures all day while I design what people's websites.
Yeah, and it's so good to be niche because I feel like since you work towards wedding professionals, like, if they are a wedding professional, they're more likely to go through you because you know what's going on in the wedding world.
Mhm. Yeah, that's so true.
Cool, cool. So what would you say your woo factor, is? How do you stand out from the rest? Because I know there's a lot of you guys out there. And tell us a little bit about Show It.
So Showit is a drag and drop website platform, which makes it really easy to do some kind of cool out of the box things, like for example, how we did on Danielle's site, rather than having to like custom code everything. It's much more user friendly. So, and I love that my clients can kind of maintain their own websites after we launch very easily with Show It. So, like you said in the intro, I always say like I design websites with beauty and brains, and so I think everyone wants those very stunning visuals and wants like the brand that's going to pop, which of course I want to do for my clients. But also there's the like technical piece, the strategy piece, and I think that is equally as important. And so I try to really do a lot of educating on that kind of stuff as well, from the user experience design, which is what I studied, like I mentioned at my boot camp, and then also like SEO as well.
Oh, cool. What would you say the biggest mistake people are doing, like wedding pros specifically, on their website or not doing?
I would say one of I don't know if this is necessarily a mistake, but something I discuss really with all of my clients is the structure of their pages. And I think a
Mm,
lot of people default into, just because it's what you've seen around, is like having a services page, a portfolio page, an FAQ page, a testimonials page, and it's like all these different pages. And I encourage my clients to streamline that a little bit and make it more an experience page is how I
mm,
would think about it. And so, for example, if you're a wedding photographer, like maybe you have a weddings page, and that includes your FAQs, your testimonials, your pricing information if you want to include that, your portfolio. Because also a lot of people have just different aspects of their business. Like I worked with a wedding photographer recently who also does education for other photographers. So, we want to make those different experiences for different people who are coming to her website. So she has a weddings page now for her wedding clients and an education page for photographers who are visiting her website.
yeah, that's kinda where I am right now. I have, like, the website and blog that I had, like, forever, but I'm transitioning to being a full-time coach, so it's kind of all over the place right now, so, I kinda need to streamline that, so hopefully you can help me.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to start, is just having those different pages and just thinking of what is that experience going to look like when someone lands on your homepage, depending on what they're wanting to hire you for.
Okay, cool. Okay, so this question's gonna kinda go into our hot topic, but I'll just ask it anyways because it's the title of my podcast. But how do you, like, you as a business owner get that heck yes from your dream clients?
Oh, how do I get it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that there's not really a silver bullet in business when it comes to getting people to say heck yes. Like I think I would be doing people a disservice if I said do your website and then all of a sudden you're going to get all these heck yeses. Like that's
Mm,
not
mhm.
the case. I mean, I think your website is an important ingredient in that, and I think that that is something that has been good for my business. I saw a lot of growth in my business after I relaunched my own website. But also, I think word of mouth has been huge for me. Just like I think it comes down to like providing a great experience, and I think that that's what something I try to do is provide a great experience for my clients, and
Mm,
that's kind of how the word spreads. And I also always say like a luxury client experience starts with your website. I think we think of the client experience starting after someone has signed on with you and started their project or their, wedding or whatever it may be. But I think it actually starts the moment they land on your website or type your name into Google or whatever it is.
yeah.
And so I want to provide that experience from that moment on.
Yeah, it's kinda like a present, like, the website is the wrapping, and you could only just, like, unfold the wrapping until, like, what is inside, like, what you are and what your services are. So,
Right. Or like a wedding invitation. Like think of how
oh
beautiful
yeah.
wedding invitations are because you are setting the scene for that event. You aren't gonna, send someone like a clip art evite to your wedding probably because that wouldn't be the experience that you want them to have.
Yeah, totally. So how did you learn client experience? Was it through experience or was it from your boot camp or did you read like a book or do you have a mentor or a podcast that you want to give a shout out to?
Um, I'd listened to a ton of podcasts as I was building my business. I guess How I Built This, the NPR podcast, I really liked that. That was what I
Oh,
listened to a lot back in the day.
oh,
And but I think it is through experience. And I think, like I mentioned, I was starting my business kind of right after I had gotten married and worked with all my wedding professionals. I think that having been on the client side of things and having had a client experience was
yeah.
something that inspired me too, because I knew how good it felt when people provided a great client experience.
Oh, I love that. And do you feel like you being like a teacher has helped you, be like an educator for your clients and, speak to their needs and tell them like who you really are and communicate the whole process?
Oh, definitely. I think with web design and SEO, especially, there's a lot of topics that people find very intimidating, and so I think that's something teaching helped me be able to do is break those down and make them accessible for people. And that's something I always want to do. And a reason why I love Show It is because you don't have to, have a degree in computer science to, have a beautiful website and have a website that works for your business.
Yeah, yeah. So Show It, I know you talked about Show It. So do they like hire you as a Show It designer or do you get like do they educate you on their services or how does it all work? And how did you become like a Show It designer?
So anyone can design on the Showit platform. They do have a design partner program that's like a
Mm,
application process where you have to have designed so many sites on Showit. They like reach out to your past clients,
mm,
and
mhm.
that's how you're able to like get templates into their marketplace and things like that. So I
Oh,
just kind of learned by doing. Really made my first created my own website, and then every website I've created since has taught me more about the platform, and to the point where I'll be on a screen sharing with I always like to screen share with my clients before we launch their site so they can see, here's how you update pictures on your site, here's how you do XYZ. And they'll be like, oh my gosh, you can do it so fast.
yeah.
Like, well, I do it every day. I try to slow down so people can see,
Ah.
but it's like when you are in it every day, it does become kind of second nature.
Oh, yeah, I've used to show it and it's so easy, and I think it's gotten easier over the years, and I went to the
Yeah.
Evolve workshop in Palm Springs 2 years ago before pandemic, and there was a Show It, rep there, and they had, like, actual, like, a Show It book where they, showed all
Oh, yeah.
the websites, that were launched, and they're just so different and beautiful, and they're so custom, and I kinda was regretting, like, what I had used, for my website because I was like, "Oh, these are even more stunning."
Yeah, and I mean, going custom is always great. I think if it's in your budget, but there's also so many beautiful templates
That are
to
free.
choose from. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot of free ones. I would say that I would caution people against the free ones because they tend to be just one page,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which isn't really probably what you want as far as client experience and SEO, but there's a lot of templates out there, yeah.
Yeah, and then just to give the listeners, a little, like, insight about your business, you could actually go on your website on a link in the show notes, and you actually sell these templates, and they start from $150, which is a steal, and they're just absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so I do payment plans with my templates. So
Oh, uh-huh.
it's 497 upfront, or you can do 150 for a few months to make that a little bit easier. And I also like to run sales and stuff like that to make it more affordable for people. But I think it's an investment that's well worth it.
Oh, that's a really good price for what you're getting, lots of value. Okay, let's see. One more question before we go into our hot topic. Let's see. What has been the biggest struggle of your business and how have you overcome it? Putting
The
you on the
biggest struggle.
spot.
Yeah. I think there's just with business kind of shiny object syndrome is hard, and
Mm,
like
mhm.
knowing where to focus and what to focus on, like what's going to really move the lever, because there's I think with as entrepreneurs, we always have like a million ideas. And so
Mm,
if we just, I'm just one person, I can't execute on like every single idea I have. So having to narrow down like what the focus is going to be. And I think having to say no to some things in order to say yes to other things is important.
I'm with you on that. Like, I feel like sometimes I stopped going to WPPI and some workshops because I just got like kind of too mind blown and, I couldn't implement everything. And I felt like if I just listened to one podcast and implemented like one thing, like that's better than having like that analysis paralysis and just being like overwhelmed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's like the biggest thing about us because sky is really the limit. So we have to kind of narrow in and hone in like what we really want. But a coach can help, aka
Yes,
me. Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. I
Cool.
mean, that's what a coach is for, is to help you get that clarity. So I think working with a coach is fantastic.
Yes. Okay. So I asked you what your hot topic is going to be, and I when I saw your questionnaire, I was really excited because you really catered it to my podcast and what it's all about. So it's about how to get a heck yes from your website. So tell us like why you chose this hot topic, and yeah, then you could take it away with tip number one.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's why I do what I do, is so that my clients can work with the clients that they love to work with. And so, yeah, that's really the point of your website, is to help you get that heck yes. It's not just to, I always say your airport, or sorry, your website is an airport, not a museum. Like, people aren't coming to just stand around and look at how pretty it is, even though it might
Oh,
be pretty. They're
uh-huh.
coming because they're trying to go somewhere. They're trying to do something. And in your listener's case, like, they're trying to hire someone for their wedding.
Oh, I love
Um,
that.
so so that's the goal. And so I think of it as, in order to get to that heck yes, there's kind of three steps. First, you have to get the right people to your website.
Okay.
Then you have to connect with them, and then you have to convert them to, an inquiry.
Okay, so let's dive
So
in like the first one. Get clients.
so I'm actually going to go I think I'm going to go backwards,
Sure, sure, sure,
because
sure. Ooh, this is
um
exciting.
So I'll start with user experience, which is what is going to convert people from visiting your website to actually booking with you. And that's kind of what we already talked about, as far as like, having different experiences for different types of clients, like having the weddings page or the education page. Or like, recently I worked with a wedding planner who also does corporate events. So we had like a separate experience for her wedding clients and a separate experience for her corporate clients, because you're going to be talking differently to those different people, and you want to just be guiding them to that yes along the way, which is going to be your contact form ultimately, in most cases, I would say.
Mm,
um, so you want to be thinking about, okay, what page are they going to get to my website on? Most likely it's probably your homepage, or it might be like a blog post that's doing really well. And then how are you taking them from that point to your contact form? So are they going to go to your weddings page next? On your weddings page, is there somewhere for them to then say like, oh, book your inquiry call, and that's going to take them to that contact form? That's a call to action. CTA, you might hear people talk about, that's important. So just thinking about that user journey is really important.
I love that, and going back to your analogy with, like, the website is an airport, not a museum, I like that because when I think of the where you want someone to go, it's almost like you want someone to go, like, that moment where you step on the plane. So that would be,
Yeah.
like, your inquiry form, that's exactly
Yes,
where you want people to
exactly.
go.
Right. You don't want someone to show up at the airport and be looking around like, wait, how do I get on the plane?
Yeah.
Like, where do I go? You have to
Yeah,
like
and you
guide
don't
them
want it to be a
there.
museum because you don't want it to be all just pretty, you want it to, like you
Right.
said, have brains, so I love that analogy.
Yeah.
User experience, okay, client journey, okay, so that's number 1. What would be number 2?
So number two would be wanting to connect with those clients, which is your branding. And so using visuals that are going to connect with your ideal client, and fonts and colors that are going to connect with their aesthetic. So kind of like we talked about, I think Danielle's website is a really great example of that with Indie Pop, because she, uses these bright colors. And so some a marketing concept I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with is attract and repel. So you want to attract the clients who are the people you want to work with, and not be afraid to repel the clients who are not your people, even if I'm sure they're perfectly nice people, but maybe the style of their wedding isn't what you want to work with, for example.
Yeah.
And I think that consistency is a big part of that. So with wedding photographers, I think it's a lot easier because your work all tends to look consistent anyway because you edit in a consistent style.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for other wedding professionals like floral designers or event planners, that can be more challenging because your
Mm-hmm.
portfolio might be a lot of different styles of photography.
Yeah.
And I think that you just need to be good about curating that, which is something I love to help my clients with, to like take those parts that might not look consistent and turn it into something consistent and kind of,
Mhm.
curate those appropriately to kind of have that more consistent look. And I also think that templates are great for that because you can find a template that matches your style and that makes it easier to just kind of plug in and get it to match your how you like your aesthetic to look.
No, I totally agree. Like, I think when I was first making my website, like many different times, like it was hard to find those images that just look perfect together. Like, even if as a photographer we edit different, but it could be like a different lighting situation or a different color palette and different skin tones. And sometimes it just doesn't match. So you kind of have to think of um making those images just look like perfectly like cohesive. That's a word. And same with like your Instagram, like those 9 to 12 squares just have to be like perfect. It just has to like blend together to make this like beautiful feed.
Yes, yes.
So do you choose your photos or do you just have them like send your galleries and you kind of pick the ones that think go together, or do they do it, or just kind of a blend?
It kind of depends on the client. Some people are more specific about what images they want to include. Usually, what happens is I'll just have clients send me their galleries, which there's nothing I love more than just getting my hands on a photographer's gallery because
Ah,
it's just so beautiful.
yeah.
And then, yeah, I'll kind of, because I have the eye for like, oh, we need a horizontal image that's going to work in this section, or we need an image that has some negative space for this part of the website, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think you were a photographer in your past life.
Maybe.
Who did you hire for your wedding, and did you love your photos?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love our photos so much. And actually, I just worked with our wedding photographer again for our maternity and newborn photos. Is Pine and Blossom, Adrienne Evans, and
Okay.
she's wonderful. And I love
Aw.
our pictures so much.
Aw, send me your link. I love looking at other people's
I
galleries. I
will.
could geek out just like you, but as a other photographer.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna recap. So the number one way to get heck yes on your website is the user experience. So what is the client journey? You're trying to get them to get to that inquiry box and press submit. And that is the getting on that plane analogy. And then number two is your branding and visuals. So you want everything to look cohesive and beautiful. And just, yeah, maybe more difficult for like florists or DJs. But for photographers, we should have like our solid style. Anything else you want to add to that before we go into tip number three?
No, let's go ahead and go into tip number three.
Okay, cool. Go for it.
Yeah, so tip number three is SEO, search engine optimization, which is getting the right people to your site.
Okay.
And I will kind of say like a word of caution before we go into this one because I think that people get the idea of SEO into their head and then like obsess about it and think that
Mm,
they have to like every single page has to be optimized for SEO and like if you're not on page one, it's the end of the world and like people get like really in the weeds on it. And I think that with SEO, it's good to take a step back and look at the big picture of what you're trying to do, and you're just trying to get people to the right people to your site. Um, and so you just want to be strategic about your content and think about what you're kind of get in your ideal client's brain a little bit and think about what they need, and that's the content you're going to be providing them. And that's where blogging is
mm,
a huge thing that can help.
yeah.
um, and I think that's another thing that really intimidates people and people get really um, in their head about it. But what I would recommend is just think about one blog post to start that you
Okay.
could write for the purpose of SEO, for the purpose of getting people to your site. So, an example, I actually did this on my own site. Um, I was thinking, my clients are people who use Show It or are interested in using Show It, wedding professionals. And so, what might they be searching? And I did a little research, and a couple of resources I love for that are Uber Suggest and Answer the Public are both free resources to do some keyword research.
Okay.
And so I noticed that a lot of people were searching for Show It pricing, which makes sense if you were wanting to switch to Show It, you would want to know how much it costs.
Oh.
Um, And I noticed like on the first results page of Google, it was mostly links from Show It itself. So there weren't really people who had written third party perspectives on that. So I wrote a long, thorough post about the different pricing options Show It has, what's included in each option, how to know which tier is best for you and your website. And that's a post that I wrote maybe a year and a half ago. I think it was before COVID even. That's
Uh-huh.
still bringing traffic to my website to this day because people are searching that.
Wow.
Um, and so, yeah, I think you just have to think a little bit outside the box to think what kind of information you know that your clients are searching for. I actually have a freebie on my website called the 500 blog post freebie. I can send you the link to that to put in the show
Okay.
notes. And I mean, if you go to the resources page on my website, it's there.
Okay.
But that is kind of like a good jumping off point to just, I have it split up by if you're a floral designer, here's like a bunch of topics for you. Here's a bunch of topics if you're a DJ or whatever
Wow.
your niche might be. Um, and not that those posts would necessarily be what you want to write about, but just to
Uh-huh.
get your brain in that mode of thinking about the information your clients might be searching for, and then to take those ideas to Uber Suggest to Answer the Public and see, are my ideal clients searching for that? And you just want to provide them with helpful content. So
Wow.
I think, and
So
Google Analytics and Google Search Console are also great tools I would recommend.
so Uber suggest and what was the other one called?
It's Answer the Public.
Okay, so say you do you just type in like your blog link and then see what comes up, or do you type in different keywords?
So keywords.
Okay.
So Uber Suggest will tell you kind of like search volume and competitiveness.
Okay.
So for example, if you were to search like wedding floral design, that's probably going to be a really competitive keyword that you're probably never going to rank for. So you shouldn't try. Like
Yeah. Uh-huh.
that's gonna be a
Oh.
losing battle.
Oh.
But if you write a blog post about like 10 rental companies in whatever city you're located in
Mm, mhm.
that you love working with, that is
Mm.
something that your clients might find really helpful, and that probably isn't going to be very competitive.
Yeah.
So you kind of want to find that sweet spot of something people are looking for,
Uh-huh.
but that isn't so competitive that you have no chance of ranking for it.
Yeah, I was gonna just ask you the same thing because for my framework and my coaching program, I focus on the lead magnet and I suggest similar lead magnets as you're suggesting for blog posts, like your top favorite places to shoot in Palos Verdes, like location based, or your favorite wedding venues in Los Angeles that are hipster, just very like specific. So your ideal client will come into your funnel. So that's very interesting. But I never heard of those websites. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Cool, cool. So your last tip was SEO. Can I just ask you a couple of questions about your feelings on prices on websites?
Yes, that is a great question. So typically what I say is I think that wedding professionals should include, I don't think you should include your full pricing on
Okay,
your website ever.
okay,
Um, but I typically recommend saying like a starting price or an average investment.
okay, uh-huh.
Um, and I think that can kind of depend on, like, I think maybe for photographers, that might be easier because they tend to be more package based. Whereas if you're like an invitation designer, for example, that cost is going to be very variable depending on how many guests they have, what kind
Mm,
of
mhm.
paper they're using.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That might range by like thousands of dollars. Um, and so I think it can. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to not include pricing if that is something that works for your business,
Uh-huh.
and um, especially if that's the case for you, that your pricing is so really variable and dependent on like maybe their guest count or something. But
Yeah, yeah.
I do think a lot of people are going to, if they don't see any price point, are going to get scared off by that
Yeah,
and
yeah,
think,
yeah.
well, if it's not listed, I can't afford it. I've heard
Yeah,
that
yeah,
from a
yeah.
lot of
Okay.
a lot of engaged couples. So so that's why I think that including like a starting point or an average investment is a good compromise on that, because you're giving people kind of a ballpark to sense like, is this in my budget? Because let's be real,
Yeah.
people planning weddings have budgets they're working with.
Yeah.
But you're not giving away, you're not like, here's all the different tiers and all the different packages. Like, I think that conversation can wait until after they've already submitted an inquiry form and had a conversation with you.
Great advice from the pro. Okay, so another website question about your company. Do you guys help with copy and bio, or is that kind of up to the client, or do you outsource it to someone else?
So I love to recommend copywriters to my clients. I think it's always great to hire a copywriter if you can, and definitely to do that before we start the web design project. So like factor that into your timeline if you're wanting to redesign your website because you'll probably want at least a month or so of working with your copywriter first. Um, so that's kind of how I do things right now is I'll like refer people to copywriters or I, kind of help people say like, here's what we need a blurb on this for this section or if someone has on their existing website, if their copy is pretty good, we'll often use that as a starting point too.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I love that because copy is so important. And the copy on your website is so good, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Cool. Okay, thank you for all these tips. These are so helpful. Um, I'm gonna start with some or go into rapid fire questions, just some
Okay.
fun questions more about you. But first one is, what is your favorite pandemic pastime? I know you were kind of pregnant, right?
Yes. Yeah, I was pregnant for like exactly half of quarantine.
Oh, so you got
Um,
pregnant during pandemic.
yes, I actually found out I was pregnant on Christmas Day, which was really cool and
Oh,
special.
wow. Oh,
Um,
wow.
so I spent a lot of it like feeling sick. But
Oh,
I would say I love to do crafts, and so
okay.
I did start like I actually when I found out I was pregnant, I had like a blanket I started knitting years
Uh-huh.
ago that
Oh,
I kind of like had set it down and forgot about it, and then
oh,
I picked that back up and finished that. So that was a fun project.
oh, that's awesome. Okay, so you're a crafter. Let's see. What do you love most about your hubby?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So my husband, we in our household we call it his name is Dave. We call it pulling a Dave. And pulling a Dave is when you take something and just like really run with it and get really
Oh,
into it. And
oh,
so he like I love that about him that he will take something he's interested in and he will just get like so into it. And he just, like
tell
it's
me
so
an
fun to watch.
example.
Okay. He got into Arsenal soccer recently, or not even
Oh,
recently, like a few
uh-huh.
years ago, and now he's like, I don't even know how he got interested in that. Like, how random is that?
That's so
Um,
cool.
but now, yeah, he like watches all the games, and like we have little like Arsenal books for the baby, and it's just like so cute to
What
watch
does
him.
Arsenal mean?
Oh, it's a soccer team
Oh, okay.
in England.
Oh,
Like we don't live there. Like
oh,
I don't,
oh my God. I love how you get so giddy when you talk about Dave. Like you just turn into like a 15-year-old girl. Like falling in love with the first time.
uh,
That's so cute. Okay, so what if you had a magic wand, because I'm a coach, so where would you see your business ideally in 3 months?
in 3 months, I would say. Something I just really want to keep working on is I mean, I know we already talked about client experience, but I think that's something even more so as I'm coming back from maternity leave. It feels like a great opportunity to kind of even make that even stronger and see how I can just make things even better for my clients as far as, you know, what it looks like from their end of things.
Oh, interesting. So you are all about the client. I love it. I love it, love it, love it, love it. Yeah, if you just focus on your client, like I think you'll do so much better than if you just focus on like how you look on Instagram or you know what I mean? Like just focus on the
Yeah.
client, making them happy and they'll refer you like crazy.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. What is your favorite place you traveled to and why?
I would have to say, we went to Mexico for our honeymoon. And I mean, we did like the all-inclusive resort thing, so it wasn't like a touristy experience, but I think that's kind of my vacation vibe is I like to just really chill and like just sit and read a book, and that's what I like to do. So that was a great experience was doing the all-inclusive resort thing.
Ooh, I love it. Yeah, I love like getting those free like drink tickets and just going all out.
Yes.
Cool. Okay. Ask me a question and then we'll go into like your freebie and where to find you. You can ask me
I,
anything.
I'll ask you a
Yeah, you're the
question.
interviewer now.
Oh,
The
okay.
Alex Collier podcast.
Okay. I am curious to hear about how you got interested in being a coach.
Oh, good question. I've been a wedding photographer for 12 years, and I was pregnant with my second daughter. Girls are the best. Like 8 months pregnant when everything shut down. So
Oh,
I
wow.
always say I was on this like treadmill and it finally stopped. So I had some time to like think. And yeah, I want to be there on, for the little moments with my daughters' lives. They're only babies for so long. They grow up so fast, from like where you are to like 2, it's a huge jump. Like it's from 2 to 3, they learn like from 0 to full on talking. So it's crazy how fast it is. So just, trying to tell you like kind of taking every moment. So I do want my weekends back. And yeah, I just fell in love with coaching, and it's my passion. And I think it's your passion when you keep failing, but you keep going for it. You know what I mean? Like, you do everything
Yes.
you can, and it's just like, "Okay, get up again, and what do I do today to make this shit happen?"
Yep.
So that's how I feel every day, and it hasn't been easy, that's for sure. But, I'm pushing for it for my students' results and getting them results. So, yeah, I feel like I'm gonna be doing the whole coaching thing for forever.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. And I mean, by doing that, you're also helping other people to to have that flexibility and freedom as well with owning their own businesses.
Yeah, and I like, people, even one of my, Danielle is really good. Like I always say, like she's a better photographer than me, and she gives like these crazy client experience. But I see a lot of holes in her business just because I've been doing it for 12 years. So I can see things that she doesn't see, and that's why like we're like such a great fit. And
Hmm.
all my students are as kind of experience as her, but with her, like just a lot of mindset issues. Like, I've been there, girl. Like, I know exactly how you feel. So this is how I overcame it. So just giving back to like the photography community it feels good, and I deserve it because I've been doing it for so long. I'm a freaking veteran.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I've been through it all. So yeah, it's just so powerful. Thank you for asking that. And tell like the listeners your lasting advice for wedding pros. Just it doesn't have to be about the website or heck yes, but just anything like words from your heart and then about your freebie.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the common thread with all of my clients is how much they love their clients. And I think it's such a
Mm.
meaningful thing to be a part of is someone's wedding. I mean, that's huge. Like you're working with people for such a long period of time throughout their engagement, and then you're there with them, or just prior to like the most important day in their lives. So that's something I never want to forget is how important that is for the people I'm working with. And I think that that's just you know so great. And I think at the end of the day, there's all, like we talked about, shiny object syndrome. There's a million different things we could be doing as business owners, but when you're providing that great client experience, I think that's really all that ultimately matters.
Yeah, and I think I chose you to be on this podcast because I know that you really care about the industry, and I will only ask people to be a part of this podcast if I feel like that you really try to serve like the whole community in general. So I could see that from your Insta and how you've like present yourself and your website. So
Oh,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah, and tell us about your freebie because it's very generous.
So I have a little discount code for your listeners to get 20% off a website template, and that is with the code WOO20. Right? Is that right?
Yeah, woo
It's
woo.
WOO20. Okay, I'm like, am I remembering that right? I know you have like the perfect name for your discount code.
I do, I really
Um,
do.
And then also, I think I mentioned on my resources page on my website, I have that 500 blog posts freebie, and there's also some other freebies there as well that can help as you're thinking through your website and your brand. So definitely check that out.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, like I was gonna say before, but for the longest time, like 10 years, my blog was like my baby. Like I feel like I have 3 babies because my blog was my first baby. So I'm like I was actually pretty introverted. Like I come out of my shell a lot during the years, but I was just like all about the blog, and I was just like, "Oh, go to my blog, go to my blog, go to my blog." Like that's all, like if you like my blog, like book me. If you don't, like don't book me. But um I was obsessed with the blog, but I stopped blogging after 2 kids,
Oh,
and I miss it so
well, that's
much.
understand. I think it really was like a much bigger thing That's probably
Yeah.
when you got started. And even, I mean, I remember when I was engaged, so like 2016, 2017, I was super into all my wedding vendors' blogs and like I would read, so I was, back in the archives, like obsessing over all of
Yeah,
them.
me
So
too.
I don't know if people are still doing that necessarily,
I think
but
they will if they're interested in you already, then they'll kinda dive
I
into
think
your
so
blog,
too.
and people, when they don't, I'm like, "Are you serious? Like, you haven't."
Right, right.
It's all there for you to see, and it really gives you, like, a glimpse of what you're gonna get, and it's perfectly curated. I freaking love the blog. I gotta get back into it. Tell everyone where to find you on, like, Instagram.
Yeah, well, my website is alexcollierdesign.com, and then on Instagram, I'm at alexcollierdesign. So I haven't posted in a while since I've been on maternity leave, but I will be back and posting regularly soon.
Yeah, and your baby is gorgeous like you, so congrats.
Aw, thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Alex.